Hey everybody, the Reswirl here, and welcome back to more Ace Attorney Dual Destinies. Okay, so it's the start of episode 4, or case 4, as I like to call them. There you got case 1. Actually, case 1, or episode 1, takes place at the same time as episode 4, I think. I do believe so. Alright, let's do it. Ba-boom! The Cosmic Turnabout. Let's do it! Yeah. Does mean I have to read some dialogue again that we've already been over, but whatever. Yeah, it's this. The courtroom bombing incident. A terrible attack launched by the will of a madman. That incident perfectly symbolized the state of the legal world in this dark age of the law. Oh, it's prologue. Mr. Wright brought it to a resolution, of sorts. Well, we found the guy that was behind the bombing. Ted Tonate was discovered to be the one responsible for the bombing. If only it were that simple. Somehow I can't help but think that there's a darker influence at work. One that's lurking in the shadows, waiting. Wouldn't surprise me. That's why I want to review the trial that was taking place when the bombing occurred. After all, I've got more than a few personal stakes in it. There we go. Episode 4, The Cosmic Turnabout. Very nice. So, I believe this starts on a trial. Given the fact that it loaded up and we were in the courtroom. Or the lobby. So I'm guessing, it seems that is the case.
Until launch. Please begin your final equipment check. Check complete. Everything's A-okay. We're ready here whenever you are. Come in at 2. Come in. Do you copy?
Oh dear. Yeah, no one. Wait, are they both dead? I know one of them has a knife in them. Yeah, there. Bum bum bum. Yeah, there. Trial day 1. December 16th, 9:12 AM. District Court Defendant Lobby number 5. Fuck, I was gonna say 3. Time for another trial to begin. But this one is different. Sorry to bother you, but... Oh! Juniper! Are you alright, Apollo? Knack, was I making a scary face just now? Oh, hi Juniper. Yes, I'm fine. I was just doing my Cords of Steel exercises. Now I'm all ready to go. Yes, knowing you, I'm sure you will be just fine. Oh, I brought you a present from my garden. The hell is that? Is this a lotus root? That's right. My grandma says lotus root is good for your eyes. She even says that if you look through the holes, it can help you see into the future. It's for good luck. Maybe later you can cook it and... Thanks for this. I'm gonna have some right now. Oh my. Jesus, kinda tough though. You can't eat it raw, but... Thank you for the enthusiastic try. Oops. If she didn't think me weird before, she will now. I've gotta calm down. Apollo, I'm sorry I'm late. Hi, Athena. Junie! I didn't know you were coming today. Did you come to cheer Apollo on? Oh, I get it. You sly little thing, you. Athena, stop! Quit kidding around, Athena. The trial's about to start any second. Is everything all set? Oh, Apollo, Apollo. When will you ever figure it out? Yes, when will you stop being blockheaded and realise that she has a crush on you, you dunce? Figure out what? The hell is that? Hang. Wow, that was the longest sigh I've ever heard. Oh. This is it. It's all over for me. They're gonna find me guilty. This is our client. One Mr. Solomon Sol Starbuck. He's a very famous astronaut who happens to be an acquaintance of mine. You wouldn't know it right now, but he's usually a very upbeat and driven person. The scene of the crime this time happened to be at the Cosmos Space Center. Back in high school, my best friend and I went there almost a little too much. Oh! That's where we met Mr. Starbuck. We'd ask about space travel and he'd launch into story after story with so much passion. Back in those days, the man was 100% my hero. Are you sure you're okay with being my lawyer, Apollo? Of course I'm sure. I know you, Mr. Starbuck. I know you're not the type to commit murder. Thanks. Wait, that's his hair. I thought he was wearing a hat. He has red hair. I was supposed to be in space right about now. It's just... He's so depressed it almost seems like an act. The launch getting called off must have been a huge shock. I'll probably never get the chance to go into space again. Don't say that, don't stop believing. Besides, you just have to go into space again. Yeah, I don't think I could face Clay in the afterlife if I just rotted away in a cell. Clay Terran. I can't believe he was murdered. I mean, he was such a promising astronaut under your command. Yeah, he was a good guy. Always there to pick me up when I was down. No one loved life as much as him, that's for sure. He was always so full of energy, telling me, "You're fine, Mr. Starbuck." How could something like this happen to a guy like him, huh? I've never seen Mr. Starbuck so down. Jesus. Clay's gone and I'm going to prison. I wish I could burn up like a shooting star right now. Mr. Starbuck, you'll be fine. What is it? What's with the yelling? I'll get to the bottom of this today, you'll see. And in exchange I want you to go back into space for you and Clay. Promise? Does that mean you have lots of evidence to prove my innocence? Oh, I'm pretty sure the guards just disappeared. Well, about that. We didn't get to investigate the area as much as I'd have liked, thanks to the police. I'm done for. I'm a goner. Everybody thinks I did it. Thought I was gonna soar like a comet, but I'm just gonna crash like a meteorite. No, don't say that, Mr. Starbuck. Don't count yourself out yet. I know it's hard to lose a teammate, but you've got to keep going. What about you, Apollo? What about me? I was just thinking, wasn't Clay your best friend? Oh. We need to focus on the trial right now. Are you all ready to go? Apollo. Whoa. The trial is about to begin. If the defense would please proceed into the courtroom. Okay, here we go. This is it. This is one trial I can't afford to lose. Ooh, okay. For Clay's sake and our clients, I will find Clay's killer. Interesting. We're going into this with nothing. Hooray! Oh, now we're going... This is courtroom number 4. Wait, isn't this the one that was bombed? This is the one that was bombed! Oh. Court is now in session for the trial of Solomon Starbuck. Whoa! Wait, what happened to Apollo's eye? The defense is ready, Your Honor. Excuse me, Mr. Justice. Yes, Your Honor? What happened to your eye? I'm fine. The defense is ready, Your Honor. Are you sure? I don't... I'm fine, Your Honor. The defense is ready. I'm sorry, Your Honor. He's been like this since yesterday. He keeps insisting it's just a sty. I suppose it's something he doesn't want to discuss. Maybe he's entering a touchy age. Very well. And the prosecution? Of course. The prosecution appears to be ready as well.
Silence.
Wait. Not yet. I'm... not quite ready yet. Oh, now he's ready. Again! Yeah, this is the one where the bomb went off. The prosecution is now ready. Okay. Well, it didn't take him long this time. What's up with Blackwell? Now then, I shall give the opening statement.
Silence.
I'll do it. Huh? You will? What an unexpected surprise. This time I can't leave it to anyone else. I see. Something is off with the two of you today. Yeah. You both seem different somehow. Very well, Prosecutor Blackwell. Your opening statement, if you would. It was just yesterday. The crimes in question occurred at the Cosmos Space Center. Ah, that famous federal research facility of all things related to astrology, right? Astronomy. It's astronomy. Anyway, a rocket was set to launch from there. But at 9:28 AM, before they could even move the rocket to the launch site... explosion. 2 explosive devices were detonated and launch was cancelled. And the launch was cancelled. My word, 2 bombs? How dreadful. The defendant in today's trial is charged with both the bombing and with murder. One Mr. Solomon Starbuck. For whatever inane reason, he detonated a bomb on the rocket he himself would be in. Solomon Starbuck? I recognise that name. Isn't he that famous astronaut? Correct, Your Baldness. Mr. Starbuck was the pilot of the HAT-1 rocket 7 years ago. As you may recall, despite some interstellar trouble, his mission was a success. Some say it was a miracle he returned alive. I suppose you could say he's a living legend. Oh, I remember now. He's become something of an international celebrity, right? Whoa. Mankind's hope for the future. I've got to make it back alive. They even turned that incident into a movie and everything. We got a real space pioneering caught today. But even heroes tumble from their lofty heights. Returning to the subject at hand. Ah, yes. The victim was one Mr. Clay Terran, a subordinate of the defendant. Indeed. A loyal disciple brutally stabbed to death by his mentor. Stabbed to death, you say? You mean his death wasn't a result of the bombing? Correct. Despite his lofty dreams, the victim was seen as an interloper by the defendant. And so he was not sent not into space, but to the universe which we mortals cannot see. Clay. I think I've heard enough. The case seems pretty clear-cut at this point. However, there is one thing I'm curious about. That metal box next to the witness stand. What purpose does it serve exactly? Since you asked so nicely... It's your coffin. Have mercy on me. That was a joke. A jest. It's evidence. Due to its immense size, we've little choice but to lay it where it rests now. We shall get to the contents of the box in due time. Phew. I feel like I just lost 50 years off of my life. Does he even have 50 years left? Wow. Wow. Inner monologue, Athena. Inner monologue. Enough jabbering. Fulbright. Oh, there he is. Bobby Fulbright's the name, in justice we trust. Ah, Detective Fulbright. Very well then. Please explain the details of this incident to the court, if you would. Honest. First, take a look at this pamphlet from the Cosmos Space Center. In it, you'll find a diagram outlining the overall layout of the Space Center. Oh wow. Ah, here we are. For a more detailed look at what's on the left side of the building, take a look at this cross-section that we the police have created. See the launch pad and the main building? The launch pad is the square building, and the rounded structure is the main building, right? You got it. The incidents took place in Launch Pad 1 and in the main building's lounge. I'll be using this diagram during my testimony. It'll make it easier to understand. So Space Center diagram added to the car record, a cross-section view of the main building of the Space Center and Launch Pad 1. Right. So, testimony. It's really weird going into a trial with no evidence. Details of the case. Just before the rocket was set to launch, 2 bombs went off. Boom! Boom! One on the second floor of the Space Center's main building, and one on Launch Pad 1. Thankfully, only the 2 astronauts were in Launch Pad 1 at the time. The 2 of them managed to make it back as far as the boarding lounge. But after the escape, one of the 2 was found stabbed to death. A murder on top of a bombing. Detective, the victim was already dead by the time you arrived at the lounge, correct? Yep. Thinking he'd sabotaged the bombing, the defendant attacked and killed the victim. Just look at this tragic photo. Oh no. Oh my, is that a knife in the victim's chest? Yes, Your Honor. It's the knife that cruelly ended this young man's dreams. We couldn't get any prints off of it though, because the defendant was in his spacesuit. Utility knife. The victim's blood was found on its blade, but no fingerprints could be lifted. Oh. By the way, Detective Fulbright, why are the victim's helmet and right glove absent in the photograph? We had to remove them to identify him, Your Honor. I personally removed his glove during the investigation. We had to get his fingerprints to confirm his identity after all. Yes, it would be very difficult to identify him without a face or fingerprints. Now, there's just one more thing I'd like to inquire about. What is this round thing next to the victim in this photo? Something so important to the victim, he took it with him as he escaped the launch pad. A capsule that apparently contained asteroid samples. While obviously valuable to research, or for research purposes, it has no relation to this case. I see. So, we know that the bomb in the main building was on the second floor. But where was the bomb that was in Launch Pad 1 located? That one was on the rocket itself. It was situated around the central part of the rocket. Apparently, the area around the launch pad's elevator was a sea of flames. I would like to submit this diagram and report into the record. Ah, right, I see. Bombing report. The explosion sparked a fire on the second floor of the main building and the middle level of the launch pad near the elevator. Ew. Well, pardon me. The trial's just started and we're already in a bind. You get used to it. Besides, that's what cross-examination is for, right? What the 2 astronauts were doing during the bombing. That'll be the key. Okay. We have no evidence, so it's literally just a matter of cross-examining. Of pressing is what I meant to say. Just before the rocket was set to launch, 2 bombs went off. Boom boom! How powerful were the explosions? Well, the one in the main building wasn't strong enough to bring the place down. But the room it went off in was burnt black. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. Due in large part, of course, to me stepping up to lead the evacuation. Wait, what were you doing there in the first place, Detective Fulbright? I'm Bobby Fulbright. Hero of Justice. I'll be there wherever and whenever people need my help. I'd go to the other side of the world, or even the edge of the universe. I'm not sure he knows how far that actually is. But I guess I'll leave that one alone. Admirable decision, Justice Dono. Huh? What do you decide? Anyway, could you describe what it was like at the Space Center at the time? The bomb cut the power to the central bank of elevators and the third floor lounge. It was pitch black in there, I tell you. However, the security cameras and whatnot were running on emergency backup. And how did the evacuation go? Very well. I immediately and heroically whisked people down to the Space Center's basement shelter. Oh. The basement shelter? Yes, there's an emergency shelter beneath the Space Center. An emergency shelter, huh? Oh, here it is. It's at the bottom of the diagram. Oh. So it is. The Space Center's pretty impressive to have its own shelter. Evacuation report. The bombs went off despite tight security. Police officers and riot police who had been standing by gave the evacuation instructions. Right. The power outage and evacuation seem unrelated to the murder at this point. I guess I'll leave that one aside for now. So, there were 2 explosions in total, correct? Yep, that's right. Wow, that took a while to get through. One on the second floor of the Space Center's main building, and one on Launchpad 1. Or in Launchpad 1. Oh, I wish I could stop yawning. Let me get this straight. Mr. Starbuck rigged a rocket he was going to board with explosives. Huh? What are you talking about? If the defendant really did plant the bomb on his own rocket, he'd get caught in the explosion as well. Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Fine. A simpleton for a simpleton. Fulbright, the motive. Understood. The defendant actually had astrophobia. Astrophobia? What's that? What do you think? Phobia means scared of. Astro, space. Scared of space. Oh, well, what do you know? A fear of space, naturally. Just the thought of space can cause the afflicted to freeze up. And so, in his terror, the defendant found a way to stop the launch at the last minute. That's absurd. Unfortunately for you, we have evidence. Take a look at these. What are they? These anti-anxiety tablets were found among the defendant's possessions. Apparently he was taking them in secret to quell his fears. There were a multitude of problems with the rocket Mr. Starbuck rode 7 years ago. Rumour has it threatened to crash a number of times as well. That was, of course, very traumatic for Mr. Starbuck. But that doesn't mean he'd go so far as to blow up his own ship. God, he's itching my ear. There we go. All sorted. The defendant couldn't bear to mar his good name, now could he? Not after the media had branded him Saul Starbuck, space pioneer extraordinaire. Given these conditions, the defendant could hardly run away like some base mutt. What, so that's why you think he resorted to the bombing? Naturally. He constructed this act of sabotage in an attempt to blow up the Space Center, which would effectively abort the launch, but spare his reputation. Now I'm sure you understand why we have to bring justice down on this atrocious criminal. Yeah. Thankfully only the 2 astronauts were in Launchpad 1 at the time. Bum bum. Are you sure it was only the 2 of them? It was just before their ship was set to launch, so of course it was only those 2. Well, there could have been somebody else inside that rocket.
Silence.
Oh god. The notion of a third party in Launchpad 1 is utterly absurd. Just to enter the area from the lounge, one must pass through a door guarded by a fingerprint recognition device. And allow me to state up front that there are precious few with the clearance to do so. A fingerprint recognition device? It sounds as futuristic and complex as a space center. Actually, it's not as amazing as you think, Your Honor. Take a look at this photo. This is the door in the lounge with the fingerprint lock. Only personnel whose fingerprints are registered can pass through. I see. That is very different. Oh, from what I had in mind. And is there a record of the number of people that passed through that door yesterday? Yes, there were only 3. The defendant, the victim, and... the director of the Space Center, Yuri Cosmos. And doesn't that mean it's possible the director is that the director is the one who did it? Not a chance. He was in the main building when the bombs exploded at 9:28. Doing his job directing the launch. Besides having an alibi, he has no motive for committing these senseless acts. He has a point. I guess the director can't be considered a suspect then. So Launchpad 1 door lock. Biometric door lock operated by fingerprint recognition. Only the defendant, the victim, and the Space Center director had access. Right. The 2 of them managed to make it back as far as the boarding lounge. So while it would appear that the pair barely escaped with their lives, in actuality, one of them had already been murdered inside the rocket. That's the angle the prosecution wants to push, correct? You got it. In fact, that's what I've been trying to say this whole time. If the victim had been alive, he would have for sure tried to stop the bombing. Is there any chance Mr. Terran could have been killed before he boarded the rocket? They were both alive and well at boarding time and embarked upon under their own power. Their hearts full of hopes and dreams of space. And then both of their hopes and dreams were dashed. If I may continue my explanation, after the evacuation order was given, the defendant made his escape, carrying the victim to make it look like a rescue. But after the escape, one of the 2 was found to be stabbed. One was found stabbed to death. And who was the first to find the victim? Actually, there were 2 of them. The Space Center director, Yuri Cosmos, and the defendant. Oh! And Detective Candice Arm. One of them was a detective? Yep, Detective Arm specializes in bombings, you see. She and the director were ordering the evacuation following the explosions. They were also worried about the astronauts, so they hurried over to the boarding lounge. That's when they discovered the victim along with the defendant. 2 witnesses, huh? One of them is a detective. I doubt either one would have anything to say that would help me. I think that pretty much covers the details of this case. Only the victim and the defendant were on the launch pad when the former was killed. If this is the truth, then only Mr. Starbuck could have carried out this crime. What little I could get out of him only hurt my case. Justice Dono, foolish is the warrior who rushes headlong into battle. Preparation is an essential element to battle, so I advise you to take a gander at this. What is it? Footage from a security camera. As the 2 astronauts emerged from the bowels of the Launchpad 1 corridor, the boarding lounge security camera captured their desperate escape. Now I would direct your attention to what the defendant is shouldering, which you can see is none other than the lifeless body of the victim. What? Order I say. This lines up exactly with what the prosecution has been asserting. I should have known Blackwell would have something like this ready. Security camera video added to the court record. Video showing the defendant and victim's escape from the corridor to the boarding lounge. Apollo? How exactly did they determine that Clay was already gone in that footage? I see what you mean. Whether Clay was still alive at that point is pretty crucial. Your Honor, please take another look at the footage. Isn't it possible that Mr. Terran was still alive here and that Mr. Starbuck was helping him? Why, I believe you're right. One man carrying the other to safety. What a beautiful expression of friendship.